Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Na kama kawaida hapa, this is the remote right here on the Now Report. Wacha tumalize siku vile inafaa kuisha, ama namna gani? Lakini leo wacha niwaambie tu kakitu tu kadogo tu. Ni Wednesday, si ndio? Ndio vitu zimekuwa zikihappen Kenya, lakini wacha turushie mambo international kidogo, kwa sababu it is important to know what is happening around the world. And that is why we are here as the Now Report. Tutakwambia za kwetu na tutakwambia za wenyewe. Sawa sawa. Lakini hii ni wenyewe, lakini na tu affect pia. Because the African Union Commission Chairperson Mahmoud Ali Yusuf warned that the African continent is bearing the full economic and security brunt of escalating Middle East conflicts, urging African nations to build a united front against regional instability. Addressing foreign ministers and delegates at the African Union Executive Council meeting in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, Yusuf emphasized that global maritime route disruptions and international tensions are causing uncontrolled inflation and supply chain shocks across African markets. Turning to regional security, the AU chief highlighted the expanding threat of terrorism in the Sahel and called on the alliance of Sahel states, that is Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, to end their diplomatic isolation and restore constructive dialogue with ECOWAS and neighboring countries. Yusuf also expressed solidarity with the Democratic Republic of Congo amid a severe Ebola outbreak that has claimed over 1,000 lives, while stressing that the AU Commission requires structural financial reforms and a whopping $2 billion budget allocation to effectively fulfill its agenda 2063 peace and development targets.
Your Excellencies, the Commission continues to implement necessary reforms. The SACA process has been completed, except the issue of staff financed by partners that are submitted to this Council arbitration. The Commission keeps implementing rigorous financial expenditure policy and results-oriented management. In conclusion, I would like to urge our member countries to accelerate the ratification of a number of legal instruments that are key to the progress and advance that we would like to make together in the implementation of Agenda 2063 and in the framework of our second 10-year plan. Your Excellencies, last but not least, African candidatures to international positions will be presented to this august body. I would like all of us to go in front of these international institutions by demonstrating and showing unity and solidarity with each other. I wish this Council fruitful deliberations, and I thank you for listening.
Jamana, angalia mzai na imagine ni baba tungekuwa tukiona hapo hivyo akisema hizo vitu. Labda bado angekuwa na hewa, labda ingekuwa napumua na chapa hii kazi yake vi serious. Anyway, it's okay. Tuseme tu Mungu na mipango yake. It is what it is. Now, on to more international news, well, African news rather. Armed gunmen launched a deadly raid on a remote village in northern Nigeria, killing at least 30 residents, leaving the entire settlement in ashes. A coordinated assault by dozens of assailants who arrived on motorcycles, opening fire indiscriminately on fleeing villagers before setting homes, grain stores, and livestock shelters ablaze. Shocked community members recalled the attackers showing complete disregard for life, even pausing in corners of the village to eat looted food while structures burned around them. Local community leaders and emergency responders gathered among the charred remains to recover bodies and search for missing persons, while urgent calls were issued to federal security officers to deploy additional military detachments and secure the surrounding forest corridors. Our condolences to all those who lost their family, relatives, friends, neighbors, people that they knew. And of course, this very inhumane act is a reminder every day that, yes, in as much as humans are unlimited, there are things that humans should limit themselves from. this being one of them. Inhumanity should not be part of that list. Haya, wacha tuingie pale siasa ambazo ni kama zimekuwa too much, because Israel's ambassador to the United Nations, Danny Danon, sharply criticized the New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani, accusing the city leader of spreading anti-Israel rhetoric and failing his core responsibility to unite city residents. Speaking at the UN headquarters in New York, Danon denounced Mamdani's public statements calling for the potential detention of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu if he attends the upcoming UN General Assembly. Danon characterized the mayor's comments as political theater and legally baseless, emphasizing that municipal officials lack foreign policy authority or jurisdiction over international diplomatic immunity. Reaffirming that Prime Minister Netanyahu will address the United Nations as planned, Danon warned that public vilification of Israel fuels local hate speech and endangers Jewish communities across the city.
On Sunday, the Israeli cabinet approved the initial entry of ISF forces into Gaza. It will be an opportunity for the people of Gaza to rebuild their lives in a humanitarian zone completely free of Hamas control. We also appreciate the efforts of Secretary of State Rubio regarding Lebanon, and we are hopeful to see the day that Hezbollah is removed from the border between Israel and Lebanon. But as we see progress coming from Washington, look what's happening in New York City. Mayor Mamdani continues inciting violence in New York. Last week, he threatened our Prime Minister that he will be arrested when he comes to the UN General Assembly. And when he realized he cannot do that, it was a baseless declaration, he continued to demonize Israel and spread blood libels. It is no surprise that just one day later, a radical yelling Allahu Akbar stabbed a Jew who stepped out of a synagogue in the Upper West Side. Mayor Mamdani promotes hate. It is dangerous. A mayor should unite the people of the city. He's doing exactly the opposite. He's spreading hate, and I'm worried about what will happen here in the UN High-Level Week.
Well, I know I'm not an expert in matters Israeli right now with whatever is happening, but vile vitu zinaenda ni kungori, ni kundialala, mambo imewaka, because the entire world has been watching what Israel has been doing as far as the conflict in the Middle East is concerned. Now, I mean, everybody is allowed to take a side or have an opinion, you know, especially if you're in a position of leadership. If you feel something against something, you're allowed to say it. But of course, even if you're allowed to say it, kuna positions fulani ukizisema zinakuwa na ripple effects kama hizi ambazo zenye mayor wa New York alistate. But I mean, if I leave it up to you, let me ask you, do you feel or think that the Israeli Prime Minister should be arrested? Watuambie. Now, Gabonese President Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema arrived in Accra, Ghana for a 3-day state visit, calling on African nations to take full ownership of continental peace and security. During high-level bilateral discussions at the Jubilee House on President Nguema and Ghanaian President John Dramani Mahama signed initial memoranda of understanding establishing formal frameworks for political consultations and diplomatic training, emphasizing the need to secure vital maritime shipping corridors in the Gulf of Guinea against piracy and illegal trafficking. Nguema declared that Africa must have security in its own hands rather than relying on external interventions. Prior to the talks, the Gabonese leader laid a wreath at the Kwame Nkrumah Memorial Park to honor Ghana's founding Pan-African vision, while both delegations identified 12 key priority sectors, including agribusiness, climate resilience, and trade integration to strengthen bilateral ties between the two coastal economies.
Ghana and Gabon have enjoyed for more than 6 decades warm relations marked by mutual respect and solidarity. These relations have been sustained by our common attachment to the ideals of Pan-Africanism, by our shared commitment to peace, security, democratic governance, and sustainable development. Within the African Union, the United Nations, and other multilateral fora, our two countries have worked together in pursuit of an Africa that is more united, more prosperous, and more confident of itself and place in the world.
All right. Now, hey, hizi mambo za Ghana, Gabon-Ghana, nini, ni kama zinaendelea tu, kwa sababu Ghana's foreign minister Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa announced that all options remain on the table, including legal actions and diplomatic compensation claims following severe anti-migrant attacks against Ghanaian nationals in South Africa. Of course, the things that are happening in South Africa are still atrocious. And speaking at a news briefing in Accra, Ablakwa revealed that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has launched a formal claims register to document destroyed businesses, looted stores, and lost property to support restitution demands from the South African government. Following a similar reparations initiative by Nigeria, Ghana has escalated its diplomatic response alongside petitions to international bodies and the African Union to address targeting of cross-border workers, as the government rolled out financial integration packages and transport grants for thousands of returnees fleeing the unrest. Officials reiterated that Pretoria must face legal accountability for failing to protect foreign residents and their livelihoods.
26, there has been a disturbing resurgence of anti-foreign sentiment and intimidation in parts of the Republic of South Africa, particularly within the Durban Central Business District in KwaZulu-Natal province. The proximate triggers of the attacks against African nationals are related to the campaign initiated by civic groups known as March and Operation Dudula, which began with the pretext of cleaning up the cities, but has evolved into an unruly group whose activities target African nationals without any visible state hindrance.
But they don't get it wrong. Sometimes people might think that the anti-migrant movement, there's xenophobic attacks are happening by South Africans against West Africans. But it's not. There are Kenyans who are actually affected. I know of Kenyans who have had to, initially had relocated to South Africa. Inabidi, wamefunganya virago, wamerudi nyumbani because in as much as East or West, home is best. Huko mambo kumechemuka. And makes me wonder, is it that Kenya haina hiyo report? Ama ni countries zingine zinafinya zaidi? Kwa sababu sijasikia kelele yoyote kutoka Kenya. Sijasikia. Inafaa kukua. Hebu interrogate hiyo. Kwa nini Kenya tusikii kelele? From the government, not from the people, from the government. Moving on with the international wrap-up. An abandoned railway tunnel in South Korea's Gyeonggi province has been officially reopened as a state-of-the-art immersive media art space, breathing vibrant new life into historic industrial infrastructure. Originally constructed during the mid-20th century and left unused for decades following rail network modernizations, the subterranean passageway was outfitted with high-definition digital displays, dynamic laser projections, and surround sound audio systems. Visitors and local families walked through the glowing underground corridor on Wednesday, July 29, 2026, experiencing interactive light shows and digital art installations that highlight the region's cultural heritage. Regional tourism officials expressed optimism that repurposing disused transit corridors into high-tech public art exhibits will boost local foot traffic, drive commercial activity, and serve as a successful model for sustainable urban renewal across South Korea. Unajua kitu kinanifurahisha na nikiwatch video kaa hizi. Unajua it goes to say that hizo countries zishamalizana na mashida zenye sisi tunapambana nazo. Ndio sababu wanaweza afford kufanya vitu kama hizo. Hapa Kenya bado tunapambana na nisichome. Tuko international. Tunawachiwa na watu majuu. Okay. Kenya is a beautiful place. Please come visit. Bring all your tourism money. Sawa? Yes. Thank you very much for watching the Now Report. Up next is TV47 habari. Hadi hapo tumetamatisha. Simkae poa.